We recap the first 4 games of the WBC. Japan's looking pretty good. Shohei Ohtani hit a grand slam. That and so much more on this episode of Baseball Barbacast.
Hello and welcome to Baseball Barbacast, the only baseball podcast in the world. Still doubtful that this Shohei Ohtani fella is going to hit. I'm Jake Mintz. That's Jordan Shusterman. And why waste that type of arm talent in the batter's box?
Yeah, there's no way he can do both. I mean, if this guy is going to put all of his energy into pitching, what a talent on the mound. Yeah, as you mentioned. I just don't know. I just don't know if the bat is going to translate against the highest competition. We've seen it. We've seen it here, against Taiwan. That's nice. It's very impressive. But I want to see it against some real MLB caliber arms before I'm really sold.
Totally agree with you. That will be the bulk of today's show, criticizing the greatest player of all time. The WBC is underway. We have had 4 games so far, all of them out in Tokyo. Japan, they played their opener early this morning Eastern time, and therefore that will be our opener. There are these moments in baseball that happen where it's like, wouldn't it be nuts if this happened? No, that's too obvious for that to happen. And we had an all-timer this morning, the Shohei Ohtani grand slam to put Japan up 4-0 in the second inning against Taiwan, Chinese Taipei, Formosa, whatever you want to call them. Was it just an unbelievable, well, duh.
But that's, you just hit it exactly. What you just said was so silly and so perfectly appropriate for Shohei Ohtani. An unbelievable no duh. That is what Shohei Ohtani is at this point. This was the least surprising grand slam by Shohei Ohtani in the Tokyo Dome in the history of our universe. And that is just what we get now. It's just like, yeah, of course that happened. Yep, it was really cool. In fact, if he did not hit a grand slam, I would have been like, that was weird. I don't know why he didn't hit a grand slam, because that's usually how it works for this guy.
Like when he came up later in the game and roped one like 180 at the second baseman with guys on first and third, I think in the same inning, I was surprised that he didn't elevate the baseball enough to hit it over the fence. I think we've mentioned this before, like the moments where it sounds like a little kid is like, oh my God, Dad, what if like Shohei Ohtani hit a grand slam? That'd be so cool. Like, and then it actually happens. This was a rout. This was a trouncing. This was a swirly on a baseball diamond with Japan mercy ruling Taiwan 13-0 in their opener at the Tokyo Dome. Yoshinobu Yamamoto pitched in this game. I think I could have pitched in this game instead, and Japan probably still would have put up the requisite number of runs. It was still cool to see Yamamoto on the bump throwing 97 on March 6th.
Yeah, and he didn't look great. His command was was up by, so Japan scores 10 runs in the top of the second. And you mentioned Ohtani, he batted twice in that inning. His exit velocities were actually going down as the game went on, as he led off the game with a 117 mile an hour double on the first pitch. And after that, the home run was a classic Ohtani swing where it's like, okay, I'm not fooled on the curveball, but I also am still kind of adjusting to the curveball. But because I am freakishly strong, this is still obviously going to be a home run. This is an aesthetic I've gotten very used to when he's able to kind of just loft these curveballs over the right field fence. And that's what
he keeps
happened.
His hands back. That made it right. And
yeah,
that element of Ohtani's body control is just so freakish. And I think there are some other guys like Bryce Harper, when he's at his best, has elements of this as well, where the front side kind of fires forward and the hips start to turn. And once the hips have already gone through, he's able to keep the hands back on the braking stuff long enough And a lot, like other hitters can do this physically, but when they do it, they like fly out to left or roll over to second or like float a single into center. Like Ohtani's just putting it into the seats. And that is why he is Freako number one.
Yeah, and so, you know, he gets stranded in the first inning. That leadoff double does not come around to score. Yamamoto does look pretty sick in the first inning. I mean, he strikes in the first inning. He strikes out Stuart Fairchild on a 93-mile-an-hour splitter, as you mentioned. He's up to 97, 98. 98.5 in the first inning again in the beginning of March. Now, it's not that surprising considering we know. Now, it's surprising because it feels like we just watched him, you know, close out Game 7, but we do know that he's been building up a lot earlier than he normally would be. I saw him throw a live BP in Arizona, and he was already throwing pretty hard then. So in that sense, it's not surprising, but it's still just everything about just the Yamamoto experience is so ridiculous. When Japan puts up 10 runs in the top of the second, the Ohtani grand slam, we got Yoshida's in there, Murakami's in there, Ohtani comes up again and he drives in more runs. It's 45 minutes, and when Yamamoto goes back out there, he walks Yu Chang, and then in his third inning, well, then they score even more runs, and then he comes back out for the third, and his command just sucks. Like, I don't know how many guys Yamamoto has walked consecutively as he did at the end of this outing. That's obviously quite rare for him, but you can imagine the amount of sitting in the dugout probably disrupted his rhythm, but it did not matter. And also, how many 10-run games is he ever pitching in, even in a spring training context? So
10-run innings.
It was kind of a goofy assignment for
10-run games, 10-run innings. Like,
yeah, so it's 13-run games is what it was at that point.
You could imagine, Andrew Friedman, Pobo of the Dodgers, during the 10-run top of the second, being like, hey, maybe let's just get him out of there. Like, those are the circumstances where I would be concerned as someone who's, caring about pitcher arm health, is the sitting before the working is not always the best move. Something that I really enjoyed about, Yamamoto, like him finishing our season last year. And I know he didn't throw the first pitch of this classic or even the first pitch of this game, but he's the big leaguer, right? He's our first big leaguer to pitch, active big leaguer to pitch in the WBC. Mm-hmm. And so for him to kind of link that where the winter happened, but it didn't, I thought was very delightful and poetic. And this is exactly the type of romp we expected from Team Japan. I think that when they play at home in the Tokyo Dome, there could be an element of pressure that goes alongside that, right? The expectations are through literally the roof. Everyone is there to see them kick the crap out of a different team and overmatch them. And they showed up and they delivered and more. It was just such a thorough, impressive performance from the offense today.
Yeah, and we thought last year, or in 2023, their first game was against China. They won 8-1. So in 2023, they won 8-1 over China, 13-4 over Korea, 10-2 over Czech Republic, 7-1 over Australia. So again, none of them were close. This time, with Taiwan being in the pool, we thought, okay, this is going to be an additional, maybe real opponent, relatively. Now, Taiwan, it does seem we'll get to how their tournament started a little bit later, but they did not throw their best arms here. But their problem is they just cannot hit at all. They're two of maybe their best hitters, or certainly two of their three best hitters, Hao Yu Lee of the Tigers and Jonathan Long of the Cubs. They both got injured and pulled out right before the tournament. And as we've kind of already learned, like, we'll talk about Korea here in a bit with Shea Whitcomb. Like, if you have even upper level experience with the way that guys like Jonathan Long and Hao Yu Lee, like, it is such a big difference and just gives your whole team such a leg up when the competition for the most part is going to be a lot more inconsistent, certainly in the pool play rounds. And it's certainly something I'm thinking about as we get ready for the rest of pool play.
The delta between, let's just use Shea Whitcomb as an example, right? Shea Whitcomb, up and down guy with the Astros. I would guess he has 286 career big league plate appearances. You can check me on that number. He has a ton more in AAA, and he's kicked the crap out of AAA. If he's hitting, I think, in the 6 hole for Korea, the difference between him and the guy that would be playing instead of him is so large in terms of physicality. This is even more true with Taiwan, and the difference between a guy like, Hao-Yu Liu had to pull out and whoever filled in for him. You're like at this point now where it's like in the big leagues, the difference is so much lower. And so to have these dudes with real experience is just such a game changer.
Yeah, and Wickham's, he's only played 70 plate appearances with Houston, but he's destroyed AAA, and Lee and Long haven't even made it to the majors yet. But it's just a huge difference. Now, Korea has other guys that can hit, and we'll get to them in a second. But let's make sure we wrap up the rest of this Japan opener. Somewhat miraculously, the scoring was over after 3 innings, and we thought they were well on their way to the 15-run lead after 5 mercy rule, which, again, only happened once in the last tournament. But instead, they have to settle for the 10 after 7. Japan does not score again, and Taiwan has 1 hit. Yamamoto does not allow a hit. He allows 3 walks. Eventually, I believe it was Koki Kitayama who allowed 1 hit. But yeah, just 1 hit for Taiwan in these 7 innings. They did have the 5 walks, and it was not competitive. And I guess give them credit to the rest of their pitchers for not allowing any more runs after the 13, because they did, keep them scoreless for 4 innings after that, which feels like an achievement based on how the game started and the guys in the
raise the banner
in the Japan lineup. But yeah, Taiwan obviously at this point is going to have to beat Korea and then they're kind of toast, because even if they finish 2-2 and tied, like their run differential is going to be so bad because of how these games have gone that I don't really see any path for them advancing at this point. But anyway, tough showing for them.
I want to overreact to something, if you don't mind. Yeah. May I, please?
Please.
Not to draw too much from any one swing or play, but the way that Masataka Yoshida looked when he turned on that triple, his ability to kind of rip the hands inside on an inside pitch, the visual bat speed, the motoring around to third was a level of athleticism that we have not seen from that guy in the big leagues. You know what I mean? Like, he looked lighter, he looked leaner, he looked quicker. It's March 6th. I get it. But that was an encouraging sign, both for Japan and obviously for the Red Sox during the regular season. And remember how important Yoshida was in the last tournament. Like, this dude was crucial for Japan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, and maybe you could quibble and just be like, why is he hitting cleanup? But he's earned it. Remember, all these players, particularly, we talked about this with Yuri, like, all of these players, not that Ibita doesn't know what their reputation and how they've been doing in MLB is, but this is true not just for Japan, but a lot of these players have different statuses within their national team than we just assume that they would based on our experience with them in MLB.
Absolutely.
And I think Yoshida is a really good example of that. But no, I agree, he looked great. Just a couple other things that really kind of hammer home the difference in this game. Like, this is the stat I'm about to give you. You're going to be like, yeah, I knew that. They won 13-0, but I'm still going to share it anyway because I think it's funny. So there were 44 balls put into play in this game. 20 of the 21 hardest hit balls were by Japan. So, and it's not like Taiwan wasn't putting any balls in play. It's just that they weren't being hit very hard. So 20 of the 21 hardest hit balls coming from Samurai
the
Japan.
The physicality gap
at 117 at the top. Yeah,
is huge. The best way to see the physicality gap with Taiwan is when they do a mound visit, and like you see Yu Chang, and you're like, that is a big leaguer. Like, that dude is thick and built and an athlete. And then some of these other guys, you just don't have that same level of like imposing physicality, and that shows up in the data.
Last thing we have to mention, I don't believe this is coming up later, although this would certainly qualify as good and Uggla, which we will get to later. Bad Bunny was at the game. Bad Bunny and Timothy Chalamet. And that is, I just want to think about, so someone pointed out, which is very fair, Chalamet seems to be in Japan because Marty Supreme is opening in Japan I think next week.
He didn't fly
So,
to
that makes
Japan to watch
No.
like Masataka Yoshida. Okay, I understand that.
I would love to
However-
believe that was the case.
However,
However,
he
did.
could have done any number of other things in Tokyo, and Tokyo is not exactly like a small place. And I would doubt, based upon someone who has been to Tokyo 3 entire times, that Timmy Tim is not staying near the Tokyo Dome. Like, that's not where the fancy hotels probably are. And so, like, this was a choice. Like, he had to opt into going to the Tokyo Dome. Okay. And Bad Bunny, let's start with Timmy Tim. Okay. Timmy Tim thoughts.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, like, that's interesting hotel insight. I guess we can fact check that somehow, but that's interesting. I think that now let's be clear. You know, if you're in Tokyo, while he's obviously a sports fan, and
But
I
he's not a
imagine
baseball guy.
He's not a baseball guy, but it does not shock me that this is like, this was the thing to do in Tokyo today. Like, duh, this is a pretty big situation. Producer Ingrid is telling us that Bad Bunny is performing in Tokyo this upcoming week, so that's also a pretty big deal. Now, here's what
I
I'm
would
say.
throw that into bad.
Tell me, wait, what? Why?
Well, first of all, he's Bad Bunny, so everything about him belongs in. He's not Uggla Bunny. Bad Bunny scheduling shows in Tokyo while Puerto Rico is hosting the WBC games feels like a bit of a scheduling mishap. I'm willing to also admit that Bad Bunny showing up to the games in San Juan might be like too much, like, chaos in terms of fandom.
It's not. No, that's I hear what you're saying. I think that Bad Bunny is bigger than whatever is going on in his hometown, as much as he. And listen, it's not like he hasn't done his.
Vehemently disagree. I think if he had ended up paying for the Lindor and Correa insurance, like if that had gone through, I think he would have found a way to be in Puerto Rico for one of the games. Like, even if it meant like pushing a show back a day and like flying the jet.
I think you're underestimating what it takes, what the Bad Bunny concert scheduling experience probably entails, which is a long time ago for a lot of reasons. And as much as I'm sure Bad Bunny appreciates
and play 2 sevens for impending weather, right? Like, it's not how that
not an option. But which brings me to my larger point about this, which is why, whatever reasons they are there conveniently, or how far out of their way they went to be in the Tokyo Dome for this game. This is, like, as far as entertainment figures on the planet,
2 of the top 5, 3.
Ohtani. Let's count Ohtani. Ohtani, Bad Bunny, Chalamet. Can you do better than that? Now, listen, we're biased. We're born in 1995 like Chalamet. I know Bad Bunny and Ohtani are 94. But, like, as far as, like, this generation of just, like, entertainment humans, you can't, that is about as much star power as you can pack into a building, right? From 3 different arenas.
Like, Taylor Swift.
Of course, Taylor Swift. Of course, Taylor Swift.
Like,
of course.
I Show Speed,
Okay.
But, like, if
that's disrespectful now to Taylor Swift.
But you're right. You're right. Like, Chalamet, Bunny, Ohtani is like,
I mean, it's the best the mid 90s had to offer, I guess, is what I'm going to say. And us. That's some of our best work for we're pretty far down that list. Anyway, so that was pretty amazing. So shouts out to, hopefully they enjoyed. I know Bad Bunny was disappointed Ohtani didn't get to hit for the cycle, but it's okay. I'm sure he'll just do it in the next game or whatever. All right. That was Japan's opener. They kicked their ass. What else happened in Pool C before this? We had 3 games before it. The opener for this pool was Team Australia, the Aussies. I'm repping them with my hat today. They were the beginning of Taiwan's terrible experience, which I'm now realizing has yet to include a run scored, as Taiwan was also blanked by Australia in their opener. And
a little different experience than getting shut out by Yamamoto is getting shut out by the cavalcade of crafty lefties that Australia was rolling out there, the ABL All-Star team.
Yes, but boy, were they effective. It started with, their first two pitchers, Alex Wells and Jack O'Loughlin, like those guys have been in the majors briefly, but they were in the major leagues. Their 6'8" guy that closed it out, what is his name? John Kennedy. He was as awesome. Funky as it gets. And I will say that Taiwan's pitcher, I believe it's pronounced Ro Shishu, who's just left the CPBL to play. I believe he signed with SoftBank in NPB, but MLB teams were interested in him too. That guy's legit. And this is the real shame of the state of Taiwan's lineup, is that they do have real arms. They didn't really use any of them against Japan, but we will see some more of those in their next two games. And Shu was awesome. I mean, I don't know when we could see him in MLB if at any point, but he certainly lived up to the hype. But they just couldn't hit. And then the highlight was the two homers that we get from the Aussies, most notably from Travis Bazzana, who, I mean, what a story, what a thing. This is someone who has essentially visualized representing Australia since he started playing baseball as a kid. And he's made it be. And, you hear stories like this, but he has really become something that is really, really important for baseball in this country that cannot be overstated.
He is, with all due respect, far and away the most talented player to ever come from Australia. Now,
position player.
Will he have the most successful career? I would certainly say position player wise, like he's the favorite to retire with the most WAR for an Australian born player. But like Bazzana is a massive deal, like a massive deal. There was a great little tidbit on the broadcast that there are 3 number 1 overall picks playing in the tournament: Paul Skeens, Bryce Harper, and Travis Bazzana.
It's an amazing, his rise is incredible, and he's an awesome kid, and I am really excited to watch him make his major league debut, hopefully at home some point this year for Cleveland.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know the story, like he's just from Australia, played 5 sports growing up, was really good at baseball, went to college at Oregon State, was pretty quickly a special hitter, had a big junior year, goes first in the draft to Cleveland in 2024, and is now a top 20 prospect in baseball. And for him to, you can tell how important playing for Australia is to him. This is a crucial spring training for him, right? With Cleveland, to make a good impression and try and make the team, was probably never going to make the team out of camp, but like to show well enough to make the team at some point this summer to get called up. But because of how much baseball he's played for Australia throughout his life, like with the country, with the national team, he was always going to do this. And that is the type of passion, the type of connection that makes this tournament matter, right? Where, is it cool for players that have never played for Team USA to like hop in here? Yeah, that's awesome. It's great. I want to see Tarek Skubal pitch, right? But for Travis Bazzana, it just means a little bit more, right? Because of how, like, think about how many like attendance-less national team games Travis Bazzana has played. Like against New Zealand with 38 people at Blacktown Sports Park outside of Sydney. Like, and now here he is in a freaking sold out Tokyo Dome going Yabo against Taiwan. Like that's the best of this tournament, man.
Yeah. And that environment too, again, there are a lot of Taiwanese fans that are at these games. So that one in particular, now I'm sure there was a healthy, Australian contingent as well, but that environment was really cool. And obviously the game he's really looking forward to, and they're off to this great start. They beat Czechia as well, which we'll get to, but I mean, to get to do it against Japan too, even if they're not expecting to win that game, they don't necessarily need to now to advance out of this pool. So really, really exciting opportunity for the Aussies. Let's actually just do their second game also quickly. That happened last night. Czechia took an early lead. More on that later. But the point is that the Aussies came back. Curtis Mead, the other really only other major leaguer that they have. I know Bazana hasn't even made the majors yet, but Curtis Mead has some big league time. He's with the White Sox now. He hits a big 3-run home run, and Australia goes on to beat Czechia 5-1, giving Czechia their second loss. Anything else on this game, or should we bounce back to Korea?
Czechia made a really brutal error on a double play ball that was just straight up dropped before Curtis Mead's 3-run home run. And that to me was a good reminder that the talent discrepancy in this tournament is really significant. Not to throw shade on Czechia, like they're good baseball, they're better than us, but like you don't see a lot of dropped balls at first base, you know? You just don't.
Yeah. And that's yeah, and it's just that is something I've always thought about watching this tournament is, I mean, that's an extreme example, but you take so much defense for granted at the major league level.
Dude.
You really do. You just, and this is true watching college baseball too.
Even slow dribbler to third base.
You just, you don't understand how hard those plays are. And then when they make it look easy, it doesn't register. You just move on to the next play. It's like, it's an out. Okay, what happens next? But then you realize how much harder that play is actually to make. I know I'm not referring to just like the first baseman catching the ball, but this just applies so often when you're watching some of these other games. And certainly in these high stakes competitions where giving opponents additional outs could be the absolute difference in your team advancing or not. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty big deal when you can't make literally the easiest possible plays. But anyway, Czechia had already lost their first game, more so because the Koreans can hit, and they kind of have an opposite roster dynamic to Taiwan, where you look at the lineup and you're like, okay, this is a group not just of the Shea Wickhams and Jahmai Jones, which has some nice MLB affiliated talent, but then also some really exciting young Korean hitters, most notably Do Young Kim, their leadoff guy, who was tearing it up in the exhibitions. He's now atop their lineup again. Jung Hoo Lee, of course, in the middle of their lineup, but Hyungmin Ahn is the other big guy who
he was impressive
Wiz last year. He's really impressive. And then the big first baseman, Bo Young Moon, hits a grand slam early in this one that kind of puts them out ahead pretty early on as Korea goes on to win 11-4. And the question with them, we assumed that if Taiwan could have taken care of business against Australia, their game against Korea would mean a lot more. But now the Korea-Australia game is the one to watch. That is now suddenly
so there's
the
really
game that becomes a lot more important.
Assuming that Japan takes care of their business, the two crucial games left in this pool are Korea against Australia, the winner of which probably gets through as the second team in the pool. That game determined the pool last time, and Australia beat Korea to end up going to the quarterfinals. The other important game here is Czechia against Taiwan. Now, even with all of Taiwan's problems, I would still pick them to be favored in that game. The reason that's important, whoever finishes last in any pool does not automatically qualify for the next WBC. So if Czechia finishes fifth, they would then need to go through European qualification instead of just automatically being in. Because Czechia finished fourth in 2023, beating China, they were just automatically in. China, who finished fifth, did not qualify last time around. That's why they're not here. So I know that isn't necessarily the same stakes, but it is very important to these players and to these federations, where if Czechia doesn't have to qualify again, that is amazing because you can get guaranteed participations from certain types of players to play in the WBC. So that's just some important context as we look at this group moving forward. Jordan, let's take a break. And when we get back, we'll spin it forward. We'll talk about all of the pool play games that are coming up. We'll make our own picks. You know how much we love picks.
We don't love picks, but we're going to do them anyway because
No, we don't.
At least now we know that we're not going to be picking Taiwan. So there's an opportunity for us to not be wrong. But before we take a break, I just wanted to remind you folks that fantasy baseball season is almost here. Almost here. It is here. What are we talking about? I've already been doing some drafts, and you should make sure that you draft with your friends. Join a public league at Yahoo Fantasy. Sign up in the Yahoo Fantasy app or at yahoofantasy.com/baseball. We'll be right back on Baseball Barbacast.
And welcome back to Baseball Barbacast. I know the WBC has already commenced on the other side of the world, but for those of you with stricter sleep patterns, maybe it's important for you to get your 8, catch those Z's. The WBC starts in earnest for you this afternoon. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games on tap for today.
Oh, and I guess Puerto Rico's an hour ahead. Is that true? So they we got 11 a.m. Eastern, noon start between Cuba and
Kids
Panama.
Day.
I believe is the first game of the day. So couple really different lefties, and Levon Moinello against Logan Allen. That's a fun one. Anyway, we're off and going here, friends. I mean, this weekend is going to be just a ridiculous amount of baseball to kind of keep track of. And because of all the different time zones, it really is like almost just 24 nonstop hours of baseball, which is kind of a beautiful thing. We, of course, have Team USA starting their tournament tonight against Brazil. I wrote about
let's start
the energy around Team USA going into the tournament.
Can we start there?
Let's do a little stage setting before we make our picks.
Let's do Team USA. Okay, so we talked a lot about Team USA versus Brazil, how this is one of the largest talent discrepancies to ever exist on a baseball diamond. What does a good result look like for Brazil tonight? What is the highest number of runs that you would say Team USA could score without me laughing at you?
So you're saying, the maximum that USA could score?
I'm saying to you, Jordan, like if I say to you, how many runs will USA score? Say a number to me, the highest possible number that won't make me laugh and giggle at you. You see what I'm saying?
Again, knowing there is a mercy rule, right? So like that is important because you are only going to have so many innings, and knowing that at some point they are going to do some pinch hitting, although we know their pinch hitters are 50,000 times better than everybody on Brazil. I think the number is like 20.
Yeah.
25.
So
anything over that is hard to
silly
in 5 or 7 innings is tough.
Team USA is the road team tonight.
Yeah, I was about to point that out.
Which means that they're guaranteed 5 offensive innings.
Ups.
Maybe Brazil mercy rules Team USA. And Brazil only gets 4 offensive innings.
Hey, sometimes Logan Webb gets knocked around. Sometimes that sinker just ain't sinking. And maybe Dante Bichette Jr.'s got a little something special in store for the Team USA pitching staff. But yeah, I mean, we just have never really seen anything like this. And I know they had some blowouts in the last tournament, but this is a different level. Brazil, of course, was not in the last tournament.
Yes,
they are the only new participant effectively replacing China. So we'll see how this goes. I do think the fact that the schedule is the way that it is, that they start with Brazil, into Great Britain, into Mexico, into Italy, like we're gonna kind of build up here. So they can treat this like another exhibition game, the way they pummeled the Rockies and the Giants this week. But they're going to still be taking it much more seriously than, of course, they were earlier.
Brazil had just 3 players on its team to appear in affiliated baseball last year. 3 players, not in the big leagues, okay, in affiliated baseball at all, any level of stateside affiliated ball. They had 3 guys appear. U.S., I believe, has the whole roster appeared in stateside baseball last year. Clayton Kershaw included. And so this is going to be one of the most interesting baseball experiments that we've ever seen. If you are able to tune in for this, I am more excited for this game than I am for the USA Great Britain game or even like the USA Italy game. You know?
Yeah, I mean, the last thing I'd say about this, for those wondering, by the way, the starting pitcher for Brazil, because again, we're talking about how many runs they're going to score, is Bo Takahashi, who was in affiliated baseball with the Diamondbacks and Reds, reached AAA in 2021, has been just like he's solid reliever. Yeah, he's just been a solid reliever for the Cebu Lions for the last handful of seasons. So him only allowing a run or two over a few innings would not be shocking. It's really just kind of what happens after that. And so that is where, but also he is capable of giving up a bunch of runs because he's an NPB reliever facing the best lineup maybe ever assembled. So anything is in play here. I think I am going to be more compelled, to be honest, about the Brazil hitters and their chances of producing like an extra base hit. I think that is going to be more surprising to me in some ways than a pitcher getting through a scoreless inning because of some batted ball luck, if that makes sense.
The one other interesting name to keep an eye out for on Brazil is Joseph Contreras, the son of former White Sox pitcher Jose Contreras. Joseph is 17 years old. He is a high school senior. He's committed to Vanderbilt for next season. He may not get there. If he gets drafted, he throws in the high 90s. He will throw the second hardest pitch for Brazil in this tournament behind former big league reliever Thiago Vieira. That will be fascinating, like on a different level of like the plumber who lives in Sao Paulo facing Aaron Judge. We also don't get to see the impressive 17-year-old prospect facing Bobby Witt Jr. It's a different, though similar dynamic. Other games on the docket for today, we have Cuba, Panama at 11. We have Netherlands, Venezuela at noon. We have Mexico, Great Britain at 1. We have Puerto Rico, Colombia at 6. That will be the first game for Puerto Rico on home soil since the 2013 edition. And bizarrely, they will also be the road team. So that is the prospect of Colombia walking off Puerto Rico in Puerto Rico is just too painful to bear. It won't happen, though. Nicaragua against the Dominican Republic at 7 o'clock. USA, Brazil at 8. And then Czechia against Taiwan in that very crucial Pool C matchup at 10 p.m.
Yeah, one quirk, you mentioned the home road thing. Just one quirk that I noticed, and if I'm wrong about this, forgive me, but I think it seems to be the case. I was wondering, like, okay, how do they designate home road? It does seem that the host countries, so in this case, Puerto Rico, USA, and Japan, obviously Team USA, or Pool D does not have, that's a different group, the one in Miami, none of those are the host countries. I believe that the host countries get to be the home team 3 times, whereas everybody else is split 2 and 2. So Puerto Rico, for example, is the road team in their opening game against Colombia, but they will be the home team against Panama, against Cuba, and against Canada. USA, same thing. Road team against Brazil, home against Great Britain, home against Mexico, home against Italy. The last thing I will just mention about the pool play schedule, because, again, a lot of baseball is going to happen between now and when we talk to you guys next, is the real high profile games are really backloaded. And I don't know if this was intentional or not, but DR Venezuela is literally the last game of pool play. It's not until Wednesday night, I believe. But even, Italy, USA, and Italy, Mexico, and some of the other top games in Pool A, like these are later on. And also, we mentioned the one we thought was going to be more important, Taiwan versus Korea. That's also, tomorrow. So these first couple days is going to be kind of feeling out the tournament, a little bit more lopsided matchups in terms of quality. But Pool A in particular, as we've kind of laid out, could go in any direction. So I think that is definitely the one I'm going to be watching closest, because that's the one I have the least feel as to what is going to happen, which is a good transition to our picks. Let's do it, Jake. Who's coming out of these pools? I guess let's just start with Pool C. We assume Japan will win. I mean, Australia's in really good shape here, but I guess if they lose to Korea and then lose to Japan, and Korea loses to Japan, I guess, yeah, I don't know. Korea's still in decent shape here. Like this, it's not settled by any means. So that Australia Korea game is really going to determine it. My feel on that one is, as much as I'm loving the Aussies and I'm wearing their hat, I think I feel better about Korea putting up runs, like essentially outscoring Australia. Like that game really could get into a slugfest than I do Australia kind of keeping up with them. So I guess I still lean Korea slightly to get out of it as the runner up there. But what's your sense on Pool C?
I'll lean with the Aussies, man. I think that the Aussies are we've just underrated them on the international level for a little too long. Like they're more physical than you realize. They play more baseball than you realize down there. They have a league, they have the ABL, and I've just been impressed with the quality of the arms that they've thrown. Like it's not stuff, but they're pitching. Like these guys are definitely pitching, and I think against the Korean lineup, you can look. Korea has more talent, I think, on the roster, but the Aussies have, I think they can stay away from damage against Korea enough to keep that game close. So you know what? I'll go with Australia in that pool. I'll go Japan, I think Australia
that's
in
fair.
that pool.
And that's fair. And you know what? I will too. They've shown me enough. And I think that something that you talk about maybe more in like international basketball and whatever, because of like certain teams and countries just have more chemistry together than others because they've just been together for way longer. So many of these guys on this team have played together for so long. Were on the team last time. I think they have the team with maybe the most holdovers from the 2023 tournament. And I think that there is something to that clearly helps, at least in some of these closer competitions. So we will see. So we'll stick with the Aussies. We will make them the runner-ups in Pool C. So let's go to Pool A. As I mentioned, this is the one I had the least feel for. Who are you taking to come out of Pool A?
I will go Canada. Ooh, actually, I was riding with Canada, and then I watched the Blue Jays smack them around the other day down in Dunedin. So I'm feeling less positive about that. I will go, no, I'll stick with Canada. I'll go Canada and Panama in Pool A.
I'm going to go with Puerto Rico and Colombia. I don't know. It's going to go with Colombia. We'll see how that goes. This could go in any direction. And maybe we're just underrating Cuba again, as weird as that team is. But nothing will surprise me here. But I will go with Puerto Rico, even with its diminished roster. I think they will still win this pool. And I will take Colombia as the runner-up. Let's go to Pool B in Houston. And we'll get to what this means for the knockout stage in a second. But yeah.
So in Pool A, we just picked two completely different teams. I don't think that will happen in either of the next two pools.
I don't think so either. Okay. Is USA going to win the pool? Remember, they didn't last time. They lost to Mexico. Yep. They did not win the pool last time. So I don't think that's going to happen this time. So Italy or Mexico, who's it going to be? Who is it going to be? I'll go first.
I will take.
Gimme. I'm going Italy. I'm doing it. The Fighting Pasquantinos will advance. Mexico has proven itself in international competition, but I don't know. Vinny's press conference yesterday was so funny. So that's not how I should be picking a team, but I do like this roster. I like how much better their pitching is than last time, and I think the lineup's really fun. So yeah, let's just go with Italy. The Italy-Mexico game is probably the pool play game, and that is the last game of the pool play. That one is also not until Wednesday. That is, man, I really do think it will come down to that, and I can't wait.
I will go the same. Mexico, managed by Benji Heel, who has just done an amazing job as a skipper for them. I think the difference here is Mexico's lack of starting pitching. Their bullpen's pretty good, but I think Italy's is arguably deeper than Mexico's. Obviously, Andres Munoz is a difference maker at the back end. But Italy's offense is just it's just way better than it was. It's just, this is I think maybe the most improved team roster-wise year over year. So I'll go with them to get out of the pool. Pool D, if you don't pick the Dominican Republic and Venezuela, I think you're just doing hot takes. Like I think I don't trust you. Like that's not real.
I agree, obviously, but who you taking between the two? Because that will determine in a very, very big way. Remember, we laid this out during the preview. The winner of this pool will face the runner-up in Pool C. The runner-up in Pool D will have to face the winner of Pool C, who, as we said, will, in all likelihood, be Japan. So, you really going to have to win this pool if you don't want to face Japan in the quarterfinals. And seemingly Yamamoto, by the way. It seems like it's going to be lined up for Yamamoto to throw that game. So have fun with that. I could be wrong. Maybe he's in the semis, but have fun with that. So the stakes here are enormous. Who do you think finishes on top? And
I just watched the Nats beat Venezuela. So I cannot pick them.
Jake's going all in on the scrimmages he watched with his own two eyes. Who's to say that's a bad strategy?
Dude, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you can't. They got obliterated by Foster Griffin, respectfully, to Foster Griffin. Like, it was not a good showing the other night by the Venezuelan team. So our picks for the pools, I have Canada, Panama. You have Puerto Rico and Colombia. We both have USA, Italy coming out of Pool B. We both have Australia, Japan coming out of Pool C. We both have the Dominican and Venezuela coming out of Pool D. Now, for whatever reason, MLB or big WBC, whoever organized the tournament, makes this incredibly unclear, like how the bracket's going to play out. This is not a March Madness situation where you could just like copy and paste the teams in. It's unclear if there's reseeding or you flip back over to the other side. It's frankly kind of not embarrassing. It's just very suboptimal. And if we're so close to the screen, if we can't figure it out, then it's certainly not intuitive. Maybe we're too dumb. So what we're going to do is just say who we think the final is going to be, right? Because that's really what people care about. I think the United States is going to win this. I think Mark DeRosa is going to get his moment. I think they'll beat Japan in the final. I don't think the final will even be that close. I think one team will give the U.S. a scare. It'll probably be DR in the semis if they match up there. And I don't want to sound so humdrum, but it's like this team is too talented for me to pick against them, right? They have made it. Could they lose? Absolutely. But when you look at the roster, it is too talented to reasonably pick against them. I don't think that was the case in 2023. I think Japan's roster has gotten a little bit worse, and I think the U.S. roster has gotten a lot better.
All good takes. I think I agree with you. I think that USA over Japan in the final is probably what I'm also leaning towards. But I think I could also see DR takes down US in the semis. Japan takes down DR in the finals. That'll be my backup pick. But I'll stick with you. I will stick with you and say Team USA gets it done. Those 7 wins they are chasing. They only got 5 last time. Only got 5 of those 7 wins last time. But that is all anyone is talking about this week leading up to this tournament at Team USA. 7 wins. Let's just go win 7 ball games. Can they do it? We're going to find out.
They better.
All right, enough WBC. They really better win, right? They kind of got to win. Got to win. Got to do it. Got to win.
They have to win.
Got to win. Have to win. Really shouldn't lose at all.
Have to win.
Like, I don't know if you can afford a little slip up against.
They can lose a pool play game. They can lose if they lose a pool play game and win the whole thing. No one's going to be like, oh well, they lost Italy. But like, they cannot. If the United States loses this tournament, they do not win this tournament. There's nowhere to go from here. It's just you're re-rolling the dice again in 3 years. Like this is the best roster that you could reasonably assemble.
Yeah.
And at that point, you just got to tear it up. At that point, I would get a bunch of like everyday players, no stars. Okay. You know that scene in Miracle where Herb Brooks says, I'm not looking for the best players. I'm looking for the right ones. Okay. maybe that's what we need to start doing. Because it seems like, the USA roster, the one critique is that there's too many good players on it.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. But they better win. They better win. All right, we're going to take a break. When we return, around the league, good, bad, ugly. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Baseball Barbacast. Let's talk about Major League Baseball. We'll go around that league now. The Texas Rangers have signed Andrew McCutchen to a minor league deal. McCutchen, who turned 39 in October, most famous for his time with the Pittsburgh Pirates. 2 separate stints with the Pirates, obviously came up with them. One of the best players in baseball for a stretch, wins an MVP, gets traded to San Francisco, then the Yankees, then the Phillies, then the Brewers, and then back to the Pirates. And we had this whole kerfuffle a couple of weeks ago where it seemed like the Pirates had just moved on. They signed Marcell Ozuna to be the DH and effectively told Kutch that his time in the Steel City was over. He latches on with the Rangers. It is a minor league deal. I do expect Kutch to probably make the team. Jordan, what do you make of this? To me, it is both reasonable from a baseball fit and a total bummer from a narrative perspective.
Yeah, and I don't love how the Pirates handled the communication here from our understanding. So that I think that Kutch and the fans in particular are right to have a gripe with kind of how the Pirates handled what could have been a more distinct ending to his tenure in Pittsburgh. That said, as harsh as this sounds, and I love Kutch and I admire his career and I respect everything that he has accomplished in Pittsburgh and understand that why he could feel like he is owed something, I also don't think he's really owed something considering the circumstances of the Pittsburgh Pirates right now. And they did go out and add other players, and they think that they are going to be better by trading for these other players and signing Ozuna. And you could disagree with that for a lot of reasons, and that's fine. I think the way that they handled it was not great. I also don't think that they were obligated to bring him back under no matter what. And that is something that I've seen floated out there that I just don't think that that's really how this works. And so I'm glad that because Andrew McCutchen does not believe that he is done, he is going to have the opportunity to go play somewhere else. I'm glad that this is not the end of his career just because the Pirates don't want him back anymore, because he is still useful, I think. But I also just don't think he just got a roster spot.
He doesn't get tenure.
I don't.
Yeah,
it's just not really how it works.
If you're running the Pirates, your priority is to make the Pittsburgh Pirates as good as they possibly can. There is a pretty strong argument that that path forward does not include this version of Andrew McCutchen. And so you're not there to do fan service or uphold McCutchen's legacy and keep him around just for the sake of it. I think that that's totally fair. However, if Andrew McCutchen, the most important player in this century for your franchise, feels that he was somehow miscommunicated to or slighted, you failed on that front. I think multiple things, as always, can be true. One other Pirates nugget I want to mention, there was a minor trade with the Reds where the Pirates gave up a reliever named Kyle Nicholas in exchange for a guy named Tyler Callahan. Now, this is not getting headlines on CNN. However, it is interesting because Kyle Nicholas is Paul Skeens' best friend on the team. And him getting traded away while Paul Skeens is not there, is out and about with Team USA, is kind of odd to me. I know I just said that the priority of the organization is not to do fan service and care about people's feelings. It is to build a winning team, right? But it is a little weird to me you would trade Kyle Nicholas for someone as relatively unneedle movery as Tyler Callahan right now. It's just a little weird. That's all.
Yeah, but again, clearly they are not. Many of their moves over the last few years have not seemed to be particularly concerned with fan perception or apparently ace perception as
Skeens perception.
Not just Paul Skeens, but Jared Jones tweeting a heartbreak a broken heart emoji after this trade was announced. He is also kind of in that inner circle of Pirates pitchers who are quite tight. But I like Kyle Nicholas. I think he can be a pretty good reliever, and I guess the Pirates would rather have someone that can maybe hit like Tyler Callahan, which I can sort of understand that calculus considering their circumstances, but is a little strange with Skeens not being there. That is kind of tough. Not that Skeens should have say in every transaction, but the timing there is a little bit strange. One other nugget, just quickly on we're going to talk a little bit more about some WBC and Team DR stuff and Good Bad Uggla, but we did have an unfortunate situation in that Jeremy Peña seems to have suffered a finger fracture just fielding a ground ball. Very normal ground ball that he fielded in the exhibition game against the Tigers earlier this week, and he's out for the WBC. Will be evaluated in 2 weeks. Don't know if that puts his opening day in jeopardy. This would be a hilarious, if it is like a longer term thing, hilarious way to sort out the Astros infield's mess with Correa just playing short and Paredes playing third. I don't think it's that serious, so I don't think Dana Brown is like getting out of this, although it's the timing of it might make it less likely that they do trade Isaac Paredes, which is just very stupid. At the time of this recording, we do not know who is replacing Jeremy Peña on the DR roster. However, it doesn't really matter that much. Not that Jeremy Peña isn't awesome, but Geraldo Perdomo projected to be the starter anyway, so he will be just fine. We will see if someone replaces him the way they replaced Johan Rojas, who the last time we spoke, we said, oh, yeah, hey. Oh, my God. So that is the answer. Who I believe is in Nats camp. So he might be like on the Nationals. So he's more in Major League camp than Junior Lake is. That's for sure. But Johan Rojas, we thought was maybe about to get suspended for PEDs. Nothing has come out about that. He played in a spring training game. He's not with Team DR anymore, so we know that. And that's fine because Junior Lake's going to play, and that is really all I care about. But just wanted to mention that we are aware that Johan Rojas has played a spring training game, and I don't really know what to make of that. So maybe more on that next week. All right, let's do it. It's Friday. It's time for the good, the bad, the ugly.
One thing good, one thing bad, one thing reminiscent of the wonderful, delightful Dan Uggla. My good this week, Jason Benetti, friend of the program, voice of the Tigers, will also be the voice of NBC's baseball coverage. NBC, who now has the Sunday night primetime game, announced that it will be Benetti on the mic. He will debut during the Dodgers-Diamondbacks game on Sunday Night Baseball in March. That's the first weekend of the year. It will be him, I believe, and like the local color commentators. So Benetti, it will just be Benetti in a rotating cast, is at least my understanding. Unbelievable. Jason Benetti, one of our favorite people in baseball. And just the success that he has had is so well-deserved, and he is so freaking good at the job. The combination of getting up for the big moments and bringing the energy there and also maintaining a light atmosphere is just a very difficult thing to do.
Has to have one of the highest approval ratings as a person for both him as a person and for how good he is at his job. Not a lot of people in our industry that are more well liked and well respected than friend of the show Jason Benetti. He is as good as it gets. I will say I'm also going to kind of put this in bad. You want to know why? Because frankly, Sunday Night Baseball is not something I've really spent a lot of time watching in recent years. Part of that is because of the broadcast, and part of that is because that's like I watch so much baseball all the time that like that is usually my like reset where it's like, okay, Sunday night,
dinner with the wife.
I'm not going to watch baseball. Yeah. And now I am going to want to watch Jason Benetti. So kind of a tough L for my lovely wife, Bailey. Sucks for her. Bad for her, good for us. All right. My good this week is just everything involving the exhibitions between Team DR and the Detroit Tigers at Estadio Quisqueya Juan Marichal in Santo Domingo, the capital city of the Dominican Republic. And not just Team DR. We had Kevin McGonigal going 460 on the first pitch of the game on Tuesday, I believe, against Luis Severino. Kevin McGonigal, top prospect, who will be in the majors at some point this season, if not on opening day. That was cool. And then it was just a barrage of Dominican star power. Junior Caminero was hitting balls harder than everybody else. Juan Soto hit a couple of home runs. And really, this is from, I believe, a Dominican reporter, Baudilio Jimenez, posted a photo of Juan Soto's grandfather, who I guess was watching Juan Soto play. I don't know if this was the first time he had seen him play in person. I imagine probably not the case, but this was the first time Juan Soto has played in DR. He has essentially teased the notion of playing for his Dominican Winter League team, Tigres Licey. He said, "Oh, it's in my contract. I'm going to play at some point." And, you'll see him taking BP on this field in the offseason. I know you've seen that in person, but he has never actually played for incredibly obvious reasons. And for this exhibition to take place at all, of course, the circumstances in some ways were quite sad, because part of the reason that sparked this was as a response to help raise money in remembrance of the tragedy that happened, the nightclub collapse that claimed the lives of many Dominicans, including former reliever Octavio Dotel. So that was part of why Nelson Cruz and Major League Baseball wanted to make this event even happen to begin with. But, acknowledging that context and that important background, it was a party. I mean, it was an unbelievable scene. Like and having been there, you can only imagine what that means to this country. And the baseball itself was compelling, but you just know how cool that must have been to watch the likes of Soto, Manny Machado playing in DR for the first time. So many incredible, just little vignettes over those 2 days.
Whatever the reason, it is a shame and a disgrace that the Dominican Republic has never hosted a WBC game. Now, I know there are reasons for that, whether it's the quality of the facilities or the logistics, whatever. Figure it out. I'm saying this to Dominican politicians. I'm saying this to MLB, whatever. Figure it out. Add 20,000 more seats at Quisqueya, upgrade whatever needs to be upgraded. MLB pump the money in. The fact that they're not hosting, honestly, every single tournament, what do we not want this atmosphere every WBC? It's incredible. It's the best.
Yeah. It is the best, but it's the same thing I say every year when people are like, "Oh, I want this winter ball. Where is this in LB?" It's like, you can't just that is their thing. And they got to have that moment and they lived up to it, even in these exhibition settings. Of course, I would love to see games there. Yeah, there will be a version of that in Miami this week, but this is a whole other
but I don't think doing WBC games down there would ruin it, or I don't think it would water it down at all.
Of course, watching Team DR play real games down there would be unbelievable, and maybe the energy would be the same when it was Panama playing Puerto Rico in this Quisqueya. I don't know, probably to some degree, but this is a very specific scene and something that I think a lot of people were waiting for a long time. So I hope we see it. I hope that they can get it to the point where that can happen.
We just watched Czechia play Australia in front of 13K in the Tokyo Dome. We can play in Quisqueya. It's it's good enough. Or if it's not, make it good enough. The fact that there's not ever been a regular season game down there, it's not that far. It is the country that cares the most about baseball in our hemisphere, way more than we do in America. Okay. Yep, and just figure it out. It is inconceivable to me that the logistics haven't been solved. And I think this, to me, not to rain on this wonderful exhibition parade, it was just a reminder to me that this needs to be sorted. I have more WBC bad. And it is the uniforms. It is the uniforms. Now, we are not big uniform people. We're really some of them look cool, some of them don't. There are other places you can find uniform takes. I think the WBC uniforms are one of the biggest abominations in recent uniform memory. I think it is worse than the tiny letters that Fanatics pumped out for us.
Whoa.
A couple of years ago. Ooh. Because what this is above anything else is pure, unadulterated laziness. Okay? Of the 20 teams in this tournament, 19 of them, Japan excluded, are all Nike uniforms. And they are not just all Nike, they are all identical templates of the exact same design. Every single home white uniform is full white, white top, white bottom, with piping that goes around the neck and down past the buttons in one color. It has the name across the chest. It has the flag on the side. Yes, the fonts for the different countries are different. There are a couple unique things, like Chinese Taipei has it as like a crest on one side instead of like a name across the chest. All of the road uniforms are one color block with a two-tone strip underneath the arms, like near the oblique. It's the same. Every single team but Japan has the exact same template. It is a step backwards from where these uniforms used to be. Remember, Puerto Rico used to have that cool like ocean motif with down on the bottom of their jerseys. It takes away the uniqueness of what these countries are, the culture, the multi-color fabric of the world. Like when you tune into a World Cup game, right? When we do that later this summer, these teams are going to be rocking some freaking sweet uniforms that have these little artistic elements in them that tell a story about the country. And this is the opposite of that in such an embarrassing and lazy way. The idea that like whoever's at fault, whether it's Fanatics or Nike, I don't know, right? Probably Fanatics. Just do a little more. Just like, why pump it into this template that's just so uninspired? And why does Japan get to have their own setup? Like their pinstripe uniforms are awesome, super cool, and they look good. They look different. They provide, like, this just looks like the interchangeable BS we see at the Little League World Series, where it's like, here's how the uniforms look. They're in this color. Thanks for watching. Do more, do better. You've never heard me get this mad about uniforms, and you can't believe it's happened, but that's just how.
That's not true. I don't know if you're talking about me, but maybe the listeners, because we don't do a lot of uni chat. But I've definitely heard you be this mad about uniforms. But this is this. I hear you. I hear you. I don't feel strongly about it, but I definitely hear you. It is interesting. It's just like, I do imagine some teams would probably take advantage of the opportunity to do something with it more. But I also imagine it's, also some of these programs have different levels of amount of funds to kind of pursue something like this, right? And I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of complications because it's an MLB event.
Dude, like the Colombian flag, it would be perfect for a badass for sure. The Astros throwback, like the tequila sunrise with like the big strips, and they get like you could just do so much, and they would sell like hotcakes. You would sell so many of these. It boggles my mind. So if you listen, Bob Fanatic, if you're listening to the show, whoever you are, send us an email, baseballbarbacast@gmail.com. I'll get off my soapbox.
Yeah. That's the thing. Now I'm just curious, like what the process is, how we ended up here. Like that would be where I would go from here. So go ahead, do some journalism. That can maybe, I don't care this much. So this is going to be a you problem.
We'll do it.
Go figure this out. My bad is a baseball decision that happened during the Australia-Czechia game. It was Czechia had 2 runners on in a 0-0 game in the bottom of the second, and runs are going to be at a premium. We need to score runs. If we have any chance of pulling it up against Australia, we got to get on the board. However, when it's first and second and there's nobody out, and the guy batting is the guy that hit the biggest home run in the history of your program, Martin Mujic, who hit a dramatic go-ahead homer against China in the last tournament, and it goes to 3-0. 3-0. We could just load the bases if this Australian pitcher, just throws another ball. That is not the time to bunt. It is not the time to bunt on a 3-0 pitch when it's first and second and nobody out with one of your best hitters. That is not a good time to bunt. Manager of Czechia, Pavel Chadim, was asked about this after the game. He said, quote, "It was my decision. I do it for the team. I didn't want to go 3-0, but it was his decision. The bunt was mine." This seems to be him saying, I didn't want it to even get to 3-0. He should have just bunted earlier so it didn't look as stupid. That said, none of the pitches were anywhere near the strike zone. So we got to do a little better there with, it's like, okay, now if you don't want the bunt at 3-0, let's make sure he knows that. Because otherwise you have this situation.
This is for everybody who's ever going to play a baseball game ever. If the count is 3-0, don't bunt. You can fake a bunt and pull it back if you want to distract the hitter. But a good rule of thumb, I don't know how they do it in Czechia, but at least the way I was raised, you just don't bunt on a 3-0 count.
I was very curious. Has this ever happened in Major League Baseball, or at least recently? I did find 2 instances. One of which was Bryce Terang 2 years ago, but it was clearly him trying to bunt for a hit in a very strange situation. Still stupid. Like, again, still bunting 3-0, which I can't excuse. But it was very clear he was trying to bunt for a hit. The other one was Edmundo Sosa in a very close game last year that does seem to be like the Phillies were playing for a run against the Rangers, and it was Edmundo Sosa bunting 3-0. So it has happened. So sorry, Pavel and Martine. I don't want to be too harsh, but most people watching this were completely just shocked that somebody would attempt to bunt in this situation. So bad. Sorry.
My Uggla is an email we got from somebody named Michael with the subject line, Uggla submission. I would like to present this footage from a professional disc golf tournament which occurred in Florida over the final weekend of February. After a tense back nine with a few uncharacteristic mistakes and some very characteristic heroics, Ricky Wysocki hung on to win the first major tournament of 2026 as he celebrates clearly enraptured by the emotions of his triumph. A man enters from the right side of the frame to present the trophy. That man is none other than newly signed Toronto Blue Jays pitcher Dylan Cease. Cease is an avid disc golfer, but since both sports compete in the summertime, it's difficult for him to participate in the larger tournaments. Now that he's playing Grapefruit League ball for the first time in his career, he's able to show up and hang at this course he co-owns with disc golf legend and tournament participant Paul Macbeth. This is great, and we had known about the Dylan Cease disc golf connection, but I went down this rabbit hole. He doesn't just like disc golf, dude. Like, he really likes disc golf. Like, he designed a course, like owns and designed the course, and drove from Dunedin to this other, like, 2 hours away in Florida to, like, hand over the trophy at this event. This is super cool. Very
if you want to like really just get an understanding of Dylan Cease the person, he went on the Gate 14 podcast, the Popular Blue Jays pod. There is so much in that interview that is like, that is Dylan Cease. There is some disc golf chatter, I believe, towards the end of that conversation. And yeah, Dylan's, I mean, he's one of my favorite people. He is just a fascinating
guy.
And very Uggla. He's an Uggla person. He's an Uggla pitcher. And now he is an Uggla Blue Jay. So we will see how that goes. My Uggla is Orioles outfielder Vance Honeycutt, who this spring still has a 5,000 OPS, which, for those of you who don't know, the only way you can have a 5,000 OPS is if all of your hits are home runs. And this is not just 1 for 1 with 1 home run, or 2 for 2 with 2 home runs, or even 3 for 3 with 3 home runs. Vance Honeycutt, Orioles outfielder, is 4 for 4 with 4 home runs in 4 at bats. He does also have a walk, which ensures that his OBP stays at 1,000 as well. He was the 22nd overall pick in the 2024 draft out of the University of North Carolina. He is one of the most accomplished and entertaining Division I players that we've had in the last decade or so, known most for his defense, but also hit a ton of home runs in college. However, what makes this Uggla is that Vance Honeycutt last year was one of the worst hitters in minor league baseball. This man had a 41% strikeout rate in A ball. That is like, those players are never major leaguers ever. And I hope that Vance Honeycutt, through this miraculous experience of going 4 for 4 with 4 homers in Grapefruit League play, has unlocked something to become a more competent hitter and become a major leaguer where he can just be a 4th outfielder and run into one every once in a while and run the bases and whatever. I wish him the best. But of all the players, based on the seasons that they had last year, to go 4 for 4 with 4 home runs, Vance Honeycutt off his 41% strikeout rate is really, really something to behold. And you could point out, well, who did he hit the home runs against? Well, 2 of the pitchers that he homered against, I have never heard of. And as you know, Jake, I've heard of most of the baseball players. So
that's hard to do.
So that is kind of, competition you got to keep in mind. But 4 for 4, 4 homers, 4 separate games is an astonishing achievement, no matter who you are. But because it is who he is, Vance Honeycutt, you are Uggla. That's it. We podcasted again.
I have a breaking Uggla.
Yep.
I have a breaking Uggla.
Oh boy.
This is from ESPN's Alden Gonzalez. I appreciate it. I apologize, Al. News. John Carpino, Artie Moreno's right-hand man, has informed the Angels that he will retire as the team president, ending a 23-year run with the organization, according to sources. Now, John Carpino is probably not someone that you have all heard of, but John Carpino, as far as I understand it, is kind of like the problem with the Angels. Artie Moreno is the biggest problem.
Yeah.
But Carpino is kind of like Artie's, like, he operates the Artie ideologies, right? Like, he puts them into play. So this is important for that. The reason this is Uggla is that the person replacing Mr. Carpino is named Molly Jolly. Yes, Molly Jolly, a longtime executive on the business side, is to replace John Carpino on April 6th. It is not cool to make fun of people's names. But the idea that the Angels team president will be named Molly Jolly is Uggla, right?
Very Uggla. Also, again, just quick Googling. Here's what I love about this. And again, this is sorry to get so in. From what I can tell, Molly Jolly is the married name, which means Molly, I believe, from what I can tell here, based on this post about her graduating from UCLA in 1999, opted in to Molly Jolly, which is awesome. And now, honestly, I hope this movie...
I'm in. Can you imagine you're on your first date? You're on the first date and you're like, oh, it's like, what's your last name? Jolly. And you're like, you've already fallen for this person. You're like, your name's Jolly. My name's Molly. Wow. Your wife didn't change her name. My wife didn't change her name. And maybe if it rhymed, they would have.
Jolly. That is incredible.
President Molly Jolly.
This is just what the Angels needed.
I'm in.
I really think so. I'm in. Congratulations to Molly Jolly, the new president.
And the whole Jolly family.
Yeah. We're done. Thank you all for listening to this episode of Baseball Barbacast. Thank you to Andrew Hartz, Ingrid Rosas for producing. As always, enjoy pool play. We will talk to you again sometime soon, I believe on Monday, how we fit it into this, avalanche of WBC pool play action. We will see. But I look forward to hopping on this microphone again. Until then, enjoy the weekend.